Today we will consider American culture and American business, and how people in other cultures might see you, including owners, managers, supervisors, marketers, anyone laboring in the workplace, and their extended social networks, governing agencies, other businesses, friends, neighbors, family. American business and American culture is not the same as business in another culture. American business and work mirrors American culture. Other culture business and work mirrors that other culture. You may think of business and/or work as a thing. In the other culture, they are thinking of the thing which you think of as business and work differently. This is the key problem. There is difference in business and work, as we know it compared to how they know it. Difference in culture leads to difference in business and work. For now, let's simply accept that this difference is neither good nor bad, simply different. And to solve the problem, we have to negotiate the difference. The key problem is, from both points of view, yours and theirs, there's a conflict, even before you start, even before they start to interact with you. To repeat, American business and work mirrors American culture. Other culture, business and work, mirrors that other culture. You conceive of it and do it your American way. They conceive of it and do it their other way. You need two basic tools to solve the key problem. First, building relationships and investing time. And second, self-knowledge about American culture, particularly in business and work. Today we will be looking at the second tool, developing self-knowledge about American culture. But first, let me mention two obstacles. Always an obstacle, isn't there? Two obstacles to cultural problem solving. One key problem is the relational one. I deal with this important point more extensively in another talk, but it's obvious here and now that you are not there relating. Right now, you're likely to think that you can think about solutions that will truly change something. Or you're saying to yourself, we just need to get something done. What's the big deal? We'll just do it. Your excellent capabilities for managing and transacting the big deal are officially on hold. They're part of an obstacle to good cross-cultural interaction. To summarize, the first obstacle is you are not there. So you begin to solve the problem by self-reliance on your thinking, your analysis, your demonstrated well-honed skills for getting the job done. The second obstacle is this, awareness of your own culture. Well, how's that a big obstacle? Well, house blindness, as discussed in a recent article on home selling, is like being blind to the values of your own culture. The seller is house blind, but the buyer's not. As the buyer, you walk in and ask, why are the walls the color of diarrhea? Or why are the tiles on the kitchen backsplash not exactly parallel to the countertop? Or why is there a cat door in the bedroom with cold air blowing in and out? The buyer sees any number of things that the seller has learned to live with over the years, so much so that he or she basically can't see them as problematic for anyone else. Americans, like everyone in their own culture, are blind to their own values. Yet when we go to another culture, we're immediately struck with sight. What? We see immediately that our own values are missing from the other culture. So we export ourselves and export our blindly held values. We begin to insist on the merits of American values. You, as an American, may casually see and say these kinds of things. Here are 6 statements. Hey, why are there bugs on my plate? Second, hey, there's no running water when I turn the tap. And when it does run, it's always cold. Or thirdly, don't you ever show up on time? Or, hi, Mohammed, call me Bill, not Mr. Quinn. Can I call you Mo? Or fifthly, so your company doesn't advertise? Well, how do you manage to stand out among the competition? Or finally, in my opinion, We should start a widget factory so your church can run it, folks have jobs, you can support the pastor, we can sell widgets in America. Well, these are 6 innocent verbalizations. They're reactions to or complaints about others' environment, bugs in plumbing, complaints about cleanliness and technology. Or they're a reaction to or complaint about how time is perceived and used. You're late. Then we try to be informal and egalitarian. Buddies in a culture that don't like that. They like and insist on formality. We may think advertising or self-promotion is a given, but how do competition and success work in a non-individualistic culture? And finally, we're inclined to make assumptions about the impact of American-style business in a non-American community. The point is, we so easily and unmaliciously export ourselves and export our blindly held values. Your values are often different from theirs. Know your blindness. Know yourself. Know your own cultural conditioning. Your greatest obstacle. How do others see you? Nancy Adler, in her well-known text, International Dimensions of Organizational Behavior, cites these things that other cultural people say. Is this you? They say, Americans appear distant to us. It's as if an American says, I won't let you get close to me. Or Americans seem to be in a perpetual hurry. They never allow themselves leisure to enjoy life. Or in the USA, everything has to be talked about and analyzed. Why? I get a headache from such persistent questions. Or they say the American is very explicit. He wants a yes or a no. You know, the first time my American professor told me, I don't know, I'll have to look it up, I was shocked. I thought, why is he teaching me? In my country, a professor would give the wrong answer rather than admit ignorance. Now, consider your American workplace. It echoes with American cultural-based phrases. All cultures have these. Let's try to see ourselves in 7 common American phrases. If at first you don't succeed, try again. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. No rest for the wicked. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Time is money, and my favorite, God helps those who help. What are these about? They're about doing, try again. Americans look to the future. They prepare, they do it again. They're can-do cowboys. We pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. They're about assertiveness. The squeaky wheel. Shout outs for the squeaky wheel. Achievement, A-type personality, determination, drive, go-getter, loud, make it happen. And how about working hard? No rest for the wicked? Is that biblical? Americans don't feel guilty when they work hard. No grace from Jesus here. Saved by work. Who doesn't deserve rest? That's right, you sinners don't. Taking risks. Ventured. What's ventured? Well, you can't get anywhere unless you're willing to take a risk, we say. New startups, stock market wins. And we analyze our options. We skin a cat. Find a way. We're problem solvers. We base this talk on a problem. How about being efficient and believing time is a commodity? Time is money. Success we think of most often in material terms and via efficiency or speed. And then there's being self-sufficient. Works well independently. God helps those who, do we say, are weak, who are humble? That's what they'd say in other cultures. We say, who help themselves. We're can-do-it cowboy style. We work hard, and then God will be your helper. Stewart and Bennett, in their American Cultural Patterns, tell about an island development project from the Peace Corps. Answer this as you hear this story. What American values led to the results, and how do those values differ from the island values that are in evidence? Well, a group of Peace Corps workers was being trained on an island in Micronesia for assignment elsewhere. And the trainees wanted to complete a model public works project to show what they could do. In various situations, the island leaders indicated that they were in need of a new school building. The trainees studied the island's basic needs, however, and identified a water supply system as the top priority need. Plastic pipe and other materials were readily available. Building catchment tanks up the mountain would be necessary, and local men were reluctant to carry 100-pound bags of cement, but the trainees found a way and moved the cement up the hill. Island leaders suggested that a few pipes run into the village center would be adequate, but the trainees managed to lay pipes into individual housing. Eventually, most of the trainees left the island to go to their permanent new assignments, and 2 volunteers remained, and they observed the following. Village women gathered together and carried their laundry to streams up the mountain like they'd always done. Village chiefs were unable to control the limited supply of water during drought because some people overused the water that ran into their houses. The fights between youths from different villages led to plastic pipes being vandalized, and small children urinated into the catchment tanks so villagers couldn't use the water for drinking. The system was inoperable within a year. A school building project was begun. Well, the whole case hangs on the phrase, what they could do. You see, the determination of a group of Americans to get something done. Their deep-seated American value overran what the community really wanted. The peace of the community, the governing social structure, the cooperative nature of these collectivists. It's an admirable quality. We are can-do people. We must understand how this dominant value rules us and must be tamed to help us do cross-cultural business and work. Well, what about you? You know enough about yourself not to hang yourself on your cultural values? Will you learn enough about them, the other culture, to see their admirable qualities and the sources of their different ways, and inform yourself as a collaborating coach? Let's think about how your American values might conflict with others and the implications for collaboration. Can you be a collaborator in a culture that hates risk-taking? The other culture may fear risk, even though they have their own cultural blindness to that fear of risk. And they will rarely be persuaded from that. Can you be a collaborator in a polite, easy-speaking culture where no one squeaks in an attempt to get grease for their own wheel? Verbally, out loud, they may tell you everything is just fine. And who will listen to your squeakiness, oh squeaky A-type go-getter? Can you be a collaborator in a culture where the first and primary use of time is for being with friends and family? People in that kind of other culture have today, and who knows what today will bring. You can't control time. We Americans, we punch a clock. Or a cowboy's work is never done. Work, work, work. Work spends time and buys money. Can you be a collaborator or a coach in a culture where the equation between time and money is entirely different in their stomachs? Can you be a collaborator in a culture or a coach someone there to be a collaborator if you want to try and try again to get a certain kind of successful outcome, and yet your other culture counterpart doesn't want to try again because the success you were trying for was never the success he was trying for? Brothers and sisters, if at first you don't succeed, check and see that you and your counterpart truly want the same outcomes, or even believe that they can be achieved. Can you be a collaborator in a culture where in an other culture, when you are so American, they are not? Remember, they're asking themselves, how can I ever be a collaborator with him or her in our Nepali or Bosnian or Chinese culture when he or she is so American? The truth is that you can and will really impress them if you learn something from them, if you listen to them, if you spend time with them, if you dig into a couple of their phrases, if you expect their business and work to be different and make an effort to understand why it is so. But you can also dissect your own American business and workplace. So let's move to Riall Nolan's Adapting Across Cultures. And Nolan works with the U.S. Army. He's a Purdue guy. Great book. Your American values are reflected in your workplace, organization, among colleagues, workforce, among leaders. How are American values reflected in the workplace? What American values are in your organization? Well, pretty much all of them. An invisible American culture wraps around you and in your organization. Can you begin to take the cloak of invisibility off? Study what you have, all that invisible stuff, ways you think and act, all of which you take for granted. Trying to see is not easy, all of which infiltrates your American business organization. Styles, demands, processes, expectation. Cultural infiltration includes decision-making based on rules, performance standard based on efficiency, planning based on measured risk-taking, specific roles in the workplace based on fit with the organization and its task. Cultural infiltration includes interactions that emphasize American values of directness, informality, equality, impartiality, hard work, efficient time usage, and productivity. You're comfortable with daily processes or office politics, but maybe you're blind to them. Study this obstacle in order to move ahead cross-culturally. You cannot expect these processes and politics in other cultures' workplaces. Is this your list? Know yourself. Study your American workplace values. You understand how to iron out disputes and difficulties. You know how to motivate people. You know how to give feedback on performance, how to deal tactfully, how to be persuasive. You have a sense of how a boss and a subordinate should interact. You expect company and workers to look ahead, learn, and improve. You expect their personal goals and business goals will have a certain balance or be separate. But that's in America. You have to know what you know. How will they do it in the other culture? Understanding ourselves in our own culture is a platform for cross-cultural work. If you've been traveling abroad, you have some core American values called into question. This session is not about judging American values as right or wrong, but about knowing what they are, so they're not an obstacle in another culture. It's definitely not all good in their cultures, nor in ours. But Jesus has come to bring salvation to them as he has to us. You especially need to know how the American values suit of clothing fits you, and how these values are also instinctively and irrepressibly American business values. In this discussion, we've been most concerned to lift your cultural blinders, so you see what other culture people will see. So you increase your capacity to assess yourself in American culture, and then later in the context of another culture.